Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. I would like to thank everybody who watched my Newbie Tag video last week. I'm so excited. I've had at least 77 views, and if I take that and average it over the rest of the year, that will give my dream of 5 views a week a reality. So thank you very much. And I've never had that many views for anything, so just like 2 triumphs. It was just wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad for some of your comments. I really appreciate it. It's been a bit of a skewed morning in terms of trying to film, as so far I've been interrupted on 4 separate occasions, and it turned out I hadn't actually videotaped anything because somehow I didn't turn the camera on. And just below the screen, I don't know if we'll see her, the little cat who always stays hidden has decided it's time to play with one of her toys, so we may see her scoot by, but she's very shy. She's been spending the morning with her back to us under the couch. We're not sure what we've done wrong, but clearly she's upset with us. If you hear some funny noise, that's Missy having fun for a change. Okay, the excitement today, along with my excitement over the Newtube tag, is that Nonfiction November is coming up next month, and I'm going to link a book olive below, as well as oh my goodness, I keep forgetting her name. That's terrible of me. I'll have to put it up in the cards, but she has also got some information with respect to Nonfiction November. And November is the month where the challenge is to read a minimum of 1 nonfiction book over the course of the month. And if you normally read 1, try to read 2, and so on. And there are prompts for the nonfiction month, so that will help to organize your selections if you want. So one of the things that we do that the participants are doing is making recommendations. So that's the first thing I'm going to do for you. And I've got 4 books that I have read sometime in my past, of course, and I really think these are solid books. I think anybody can read them. I would recommend them over and over again. And the little squeak is a fake mouse that's being killed. All right, this is Salt, A World History, and it is by Mark Kurlawsky, and it was published in 2002. And it was sort of a pivotal book for me because it was the second one that I read where the public readership general was definitely geared towards the author really knew who the audience was. And the one that really turned things around for me is with respect to nonfiction. And I don't have it. I'll put it up in the I'll put it up here. Is a book about how to discover the latitudes and the longitudes, and so that ships at sea would not get lost and they would be able to navigate more clearly instead of using the stars and the sun and landmarks, and especially, you know, if it gets foggy or rainy, those things disappear, and it's kind of luck of the draw. So it was significant both in terms of saving lives and improving shipping alternatives. So that was the first book that turned things around for me, because it was definitely geared to a readership that would not have any prior knowledge and would not be interested in the jargon and the academic arguments. So this book, Salt, is definitely along the same lines, and it takes a history of salt and sees it through its economic life, its historical life with respect to storytelling or culture, and how it was viewed as a precious object, and then how it becomes, perhaps in our world, not so precious. Although I know there's a fairy tale out there where the king wants to know what his 3 daughters would bring him to show his love, and one brings gold and one brings riches, and the youngest brings salt, and he doesn't get it, and you know, she gets banished, so on, and years later he shows up at wherever she is, and so she serves him a food dish without any salt in it, and then you know, he's kind of outraged, and then she serves the dish with salt, and she says, "Do you understand what I'm saying now, Papa?" And he realizes not only that that's his third daughter, but that's, the metaphor was that salt flavors everything and needs to be an essential ingredient in food and apparently relationships. So I digress. Salt is a really solid book. And there's a few illustrations. It's both American and European and Asian, and I just really loved it. I tore through this book at the time. There's a couple of little recipes along the way, and really totally 5 out of 5 on this. Okay, the next one. Not too long ago, I was in Ottawa, well, before the pandemic, and visiting our daughter, and we went to... Am I telling you a lie? Yes, I am telling you a lie. I beg your pardon. We were in Toronto. We met her in Toronto, and we went to the ROM there, which is something that they used to do when they were kiddies. And this book was published in 2018. It is called The Rise and the Fall of Dinosaurs, and it is by Steve Brusatte. And we picked this up. She really, when we went to the ROM back when she was a little kid, also with her brother. Always dinosaurs, Batcave, and then after that it was anyone's guess what we would go see. So we went back for nostalgic reasons, and we discovered this in the gift shop, and this takes us through a new history of a lost world. And what the author has done has taken all the sort of paleontological, maybe I shouldn't make up words. It takes the history of paleontology and looks at it again through modern discoveries in techniques. So, carbon dating, different kinds of microscopes, different kinds of geological discoveries. Some of the theories around extinction and so forth have flipped to some degree or have skewed to a different kind of an argument. So he's viewing these things through a very up-to-date technological lens, and doesn't change anything significantly in terms of, the extinction lines and who is in what period, but it's able to, a lot of the theory has been proven as opposed to just kind of wondering about. So that's a really wonderful book. And again, we just ripped through it. And I think it was in the mail very quickly. She was on my back instantaneously. Have you finished that book? Can you mail it to me? Can you mail it to me? So that was rock solid. Okay, the other two I've been working on this summer, and this one I did finish, and I'm sure I spoke about it, David Attenborough, Life on Earth, and it too is a book about evolution and is so readable. He is such a good author, and I think I mentioned at the time that he put some of these evolutionary events in the context of what might have been happening with the birds or with the amoebas or water rising, water falling, gases in the air, that kind of thing. So unlike some books where it's just definitely about, let's just say the extinctions, and it sort of vaguely mentions the creatures that might have been around for extinction number 2 or what have you. This takes you get all the players in the different events, if that makes sense. Anyways, go see the other review I did on it, and maybe it's more coherent. But yes, pictures, modern pictures of modern animals. So that was one of the things that was interesting too, because he does bring it up to who's related to whom. And I did find the section on jellyfish to be kind of creepy. And he's got a very interesting take on humans, our evolutionary thing, and I guess I'm sure he didn't invent this, but the topic of communication is what seems to be able to set us apart as a species. So it was very interesting to be reading about things like the larynx and the jaws and the structure of the neck and so forth, to see how physically we were able to communicate. So that was definitely a 5 out of 5. And this one I'm working my way through on audio, and it is grim. An Inconvenient Indian, a curious account of Native people in North America by Thomas King. It's just, when I say grim, he's got this way of presenting a really bad fact let's just pretend, a massacre of a tribe of First Peoples. And he's got this sardonic way of presenting it. It's really something you will get much more power out of if you do it as an audio book. The person who's reading it has got great delivery, very well articulated, good elocution, but also just really knows how to bring the audience in so that you're thinking, how is he going to do this? And then he throws in a sidewinder and you think, that's not funny at all. And yet you can see how the author has somehow brought the subject matter up to being viewed in such a way that it's not quite so devastating and horrific. And I don't really know how to explain it. He's just taken it so that it's not toxic. They're the same topics around, cultural eradication, language removal, people going onto reservations, massacres, all these smallpox, all these things. But what he's done is he's sort of detoxified it so that the reader or the listener can look at it in such a way that there aren't as many trigger points. And I think it's just really fascinating. But I do remember reading this many years ago, but I'm finding listening to it on audio is bringing so much more of it to life, because Thomas King, if nothing else, is just a genius storyteller. And so he's taken the nonfiction elements of what's happened to First Nations peoples and turned it into story, which is definitely a value held by First Nations, is that the history is definitely story-based. So those are my 4 recommendations. I think any one of those would be brilliant. If you're just going to read one book, I would choose any one of those. For those that I'm going to be reading myself, the prompts that Book Olive, whose name actually is Olive, have given us is collection, industry, style, and treatment. So the books I've chosen, I did not know what the prompts were going to be. I just chose books that I was pretty sure that I would have stick-to-itiveness in it. So I'm not sure if any of these will work. This one, Mudlarking, has been on my get from the library list for an eternity. It took forever for it to arrive. This is In Search of London's Past Along the River Thames by Lara Maiklem. It came out 1 or 2 years ago, and it's just taken me that long to be able to get into it, or to get it in the house. So what she's doing is she's going along the tide edges of the Thames and the estuary, and she's just describing, there it is in central London, she's just describing what it's like to go searching for artifacts along the shorelines, and it was recommended by a Book Olive last year, I believe, and I think a couple of other authors really enjoyed it. So yeah, I just think it'll be kind of cool. I really have no idea what's coming. And we discussed whether it would make sense as a read aloud, but I don't know. Steve read the first chapter. I think we're going to be reading it side by side instead of as a read aloud. Okay, this one, continuing the theme in my world this year of evolution. I don't know why I got really entranced by that. I think partly I was just luck of the draw. It just happens to have a number of really good books or have come under my nose. So it's not necessarily a big topic in the book world, but I just am noticing it. So this is another one. It is The Ends of the World, Volcanic Apocalpyses, Lethal Oceans, and Our Quest to Understand Earth's Past Mass Extinctions by Peter Brannan. I think it's going to be about rocks. I guess. I don't know. I think this one might be a bit more, like a bit more brainiac. I'm not sure. I don't think it really, I don't think it's not as if there's a lot of persons in this book, like the author hasn't gone to this researcher and had coffee with them. I don't think we're going to get that kind of thing. So I really don't know what to expect from this book. So it's going to be interesting. I am in the middle of reading this one, to be completely honest. John Green, The Anthropocene, reviewed. Now, he did this as a podcast for a couple of years, and I think that these are his best podcasts captured in text, because as I've been reading them, I'm probably about halfway through. I have recognized one or two of the topics, and what he's doing in this collection of, I guess, essays, podcast essays, he is taking two things and not necessarily comparing them, but just examining them from their inception to their impact and how they are in our world today. And then he ranks them from, I think they're 1 to 5. He ranks running shoes. Maybe he might give them a 3 out of 5, and hair color, for whatever reason, he might give a 1 out of 5. Anyways, they're light. They're very easy to read. They're maybe anywhere from 4 to 6 pages long, and it's a great bedside book. You just read 1 or 2. Sometimes I get really caught up into it and I read a couple. I don't think the podcast is on the go anymore. I think that was just a project that he did for about 2 years, something like that. And anyways, this is a really, John Green, you probably know him from Turtles All the Way Down and A Fault in Our Stars. He was writing for young adult, and so was very popular that. This one is Breath, and it was recommended to me by my good friend Cheryl. The New Science of a Lost Art, written by James Nestor. And this is really interesting, especially given my recent illness with blood clots in the lungs. Breathing for me has become a hot topic. And he talks about how our face and our jaw and our neck have over time changed quite considerably from our ancestors, let's say, because once we've learned how to heat food, then it softens it. So the whole purpose of molars changes, and our eating habits become more forward as opposed to more grindy. And so this eventually shifts the jawline, and shifting the jawline can shift the soft palate, which changes the position of the tongue, which leads to snoring. And just all the different ways that we breathe, especially in our society where we're seated most of the time. And this changes the expansion range of our lungs. He goes through all kinds of research and all kinds of practices that have been discovered and let go of. Deep breathing was used for helping patients with emphysema. And it was very successful, but because the person who was doing it was not a scientist per se, it just kind of fell off the radar. It's now being rediscovered. And these kinds of things just seem to keep happening. If it's not accredited sort of prior to 1990s, let's say, it didn't have validity and it just got lost. Current researchers are discovering some of these breathing techniques. I was in the middle of being very profound and the computer died, so continuity will not look good. And the kitty cat's playing for a few seconds. And Taz is back, so completely disrupted my thoughts. I was talking about Breath by James Nestor, and I really don't know what I was saying anymore, but I recommend it. I think you'll enjoy it. It's very accessible, and the author is definitely part of the story if you like that kind of memoir nonfiction. And one of the things I like about this book is that he does have quite a section on the breathing techniques he discovers, and he elaborates on the research that he's done. There's is it footnotes? Yeah, I guess there's sort of notes as opposed to footnotes. And he has an index, and presumably that includes the bibliography. So anyhow, there's a lot of people waiting for this book, so I'm not actually going to read it for Nonfiction November. I'm just pretending, don't tell anyone, because there's a whole lineup of Cheryl's friends waiting for this book. All right, the last... now the bird. I'm sure that most of you have got these shenanigans going on behind the scenes, you know, where you think, oh, everything's fine, and then you realize, oh gosh, I've sat down on the one and only thorn there is in the house, or what have you. That was the 11 o'clock bird going past. and it's just been one of those filming days. Never mind, we are still up and breathing. Whereas the dinosaurs are not. I would like to thank Mad World 1962 for recommending this book. This person recommended it when I was commenting on the David Attenborough book over the summer, and suggested that this book would be just the piece to fill in the parts that I was missing. And so, Extinction and Evolution, What Fossils Reveal About the History of Life by Niles Eldredge. And as Mad World 1960 pointed out, oh, look what I opened to. There are a lot of pictures. So, this is a bit of a coffee table book. There's text and there's captions, and I love a good caption, and there's plenty and plenty of different kinds of things. I think this is going to be a good one to read between the other books, and this is from the library, and I see that other people have is that what you call it? Dog-eared? Some pages in here, so there must be some good hot stuff coming my way. Thank you, Mad World 1962. All right, the only part I haven't talked about were the prompts. And the prompts that Olive has given us for this year are collection, industry, style, and treatment. So, as I said, I did not choose my books with these in mind because she doesn't release them until now-ish. So I think that in order to fill things up, I'm going to go with this one for style because it's kind of the current hot topic. You know, it's on the front of all the bestseller lists and so on. So it's kind of what's grooving. John Green, Anthropocene Reviewed. I think I'm going to also put in, no, not style. I'm going to put this in industry because he's definitely looking on our human-centered planet and how our industrial revolution and so on have impacted the planet, and just considering that. Okay, The Ends of the World. I'm going to put it under collection because there are a lot of rocks. And Mudlark, I'm going to put under style because you have to wear really cool boots when you go into the muddy spots in the river, and you got to look kind of styling while you're digging deep in the muck. And Extinction of Evolution, I am going to put under collection as well. Collection of history, and, you know, I don't have anything for treatment, I guess. Well, maybe something will come up. You know, there's recommendations that I'm following from other booktubers, so I may be able to squeeze someone in. And I already have a couple of recommendations from other booktubers, so I don't know if I'll fit it in, because I also have the nonfiction from October to fit in, just to filter it through. None of this is on a time sensitive, except that I have to return them to the library. And somewhere in here, oh, here it is. I am currently reading The Dragon Thief, which is a continuation of Dragons in the Bag, which I did not think had a sequel, but turns out it does. And this is by Zeta Elliott. It is a middle reader book, and it continues the drama of 3 dragons that have come to New York, and what are you going to do with them? How are you going to solve this? Magic, and just, yeah, cool. I think it'll be fun. That's it for me today. That's a bit long. I hope you enjoyed it, and I guess I'll see you next week with who knows what adventure I'll come up with then. I hope your reading adventures and dreams all come true, and I'll see you in a little while. Bye-bye.